Welcome to the SAM registration. Today, we will go over topics such as what is the SAM registration, how do you create a login.gov account, and we will also walk through the different steps of the SAM registration. And again, take any notes that you feel like you need to have answered in the end. So as mentioned earlier, SAM stands for System for Award Management, and essentially allows entities to do business with the government, and is also used for entities to receive financial awards from the government. And in order for the government to send awards to the correct entity, it is important to obtain a unique entity ID, which basically allows the government to identify an entity. Okay, and then as mentioned, in order for an entity to even walk through the SAM registration, you would need a login.gov account. And the government does use two-factor authentication, and there are 6 options, as you can see on the screen. And just keep in mind, the person who initially sets up the account might change, and that you want to keep the account as secure and as accessible as possible. So in other words, choose an option that allows you to retain access even when a different person gets assigned. And if possible, stay away from the backup codes, because once you lose them, it's really hard to get back into your account. So we recommend that the person who sets up the login.gov account for your entity is the person who will be responsible for maintaining the organization's SAM account. It could be a board member, city administrator, city recorder, county clerk. Just keep in mind that you might also already have a login.gov account. So before you set up a new one, make sure you don't already have one. And when you begin the SAM registration, it basically gives you the option to walk through with the entire registration or just get a unique entity ID. However, the USDA recommends to follow through with the entire SAM registration, since that will also decrease the number of certifications that you will need to fill out later. So what kind of information is needed for the registration? So as you can see, you have 2 different types of awards. One is an all awards, and one is just for financial assistance. And for the purposes of the USDA grant and loan program, the financial assistance awards only is sufficient. And should you later decide that you want to bid on government contracts, you can always go back and then later fill out the necessary documents for that. And so one of the most important steps is to validate your entity. And we have put in a video that is about 8 minutes long. So you might have to adjust the volume either louder or more quiet. So I would just go ahead and play the video.
We first have to go through entity validation, and that's what the next several screens are for. On this screen, they're asking for your legal business name and your physical address. Your entity's legal business name is the name you registered with your state filing office, or the name used on legal documents and your tax returns and bank documents. For those of you operating a sole proprietorship, your legal business name is your own name, and it's optional, but you can also enter a doing business as name. That's any other name you use for your business. For example, if you use a trade name that's different from your legal business name, you can enter it here. And they ask for your physical address, and a lot of people get rejected because they list a post office box for the physical address. I'll tell you right now, they won't accept that. For those of you who work at more than one location, I want you to enter the address where you keep the books and records for your business. And these days, I know lots of people are operating their businesses from a home office, and it's perfectly fine to list your home address in that case. The next page says you are about to validate your entity, and it tells you the information you provide here will be used throughout the federal government, and it tells you to be sure your information is current and correct. And they also explain that they're going to ask us to submit documentation to prove the legal business name, physical address, state, and start year of the business. Check the box that says, I can provide official documentation to validate my entity, and then click Next. Now on this screen, they show you a list of potential matches. And there are two different options here. Check the first one if you see your business listed. But most of you are here because you're registering your business for the first time. So you probably won't see your business in the list. So you'll select the second option, which says, I don't recognize my entity in this list. And it'll take you to this screen. And this page is titled Enter Incorporation Information. I think that's kind of confusing language because I know for some of you, your business isn't incorporated, but they still want you to enter your information here on this page. First, they ask you to enter your start year. If your entity is incorporated, enter the year of your incorporation. If your entity is not incorporated, provide the year you opened your business. The next question is state of incorporation. For incorporated entities, select the state where you were incorporated. For non-incorporated entities, this could be where your organization was located at the time you started your business, or where you filed your certificate or articles of formation, or where you filed taxes at the time you started doing business. Okay, the next screen as you confirm your information, and pay attention to this screen because on the next page, they're going to ask you to upload documents to prove this information. And the documents you upload must show your information exactly as it appears on this screen. Lots of people are running into validation delays due to mismatched information. So do yourself a favor, save yourself time and aggravation by paying attention to this screen and making sure the documents you upload match what's shown here. Okay, now here we are on the page where we can upload our documentation. Click where it says Add Document, and then from the drop-down menu, select the type of document you're attaching. And it's showing you here the types of documents you can upload. For example, articles of incorporation or articles of formation from your state, a recent bank statement, your certificate of formation from your state, certified tax returns, a recent utility bill. And for you sole proprietors, you can upload your driver's license. I think a good one to attach would be the letter you received from the IRS that assigns your employer identification number. That's your EIN. And you can upload other types of documents as well. Select Other Document if you're submitting something different. So select your document type and then be sure to check the boxes to indicate the information that's contained in the document. For example, legal business name and physical address in the same document, or legal business name and U.S. state of incorporation in the same document. If the document contains multiple pieces of information, then be sure to check multiple boxes. Then you can drag your document into the box and click Submit. Attach as many documents as you need to verify all your information. That could be one document or it could be multiple documents. You just go through this Add Document process for each one. And be sure you check the boxes. Because I'll tell you right now, the website is not going to let you go on to the next page until the boxes are checked. And then in section 3, there's this text box here that says provide details. And it's listed as optional, but I want you to get validated fast. So I would use that box to spell out which documents validate which pieces of information. Try to make it crystal clear to help the reviewer find the information they need to validate you quickly. When you're done, click the Next button and the system will give you a reference number. And you'll also receive an email from the General Services Administration. It will come from the email address fsdsupport@gsa.gov. I'm showing you here the email I received. And it says, an incident has been opened on your behalf. And there's a link to see the incident. I don't know about you, but I find their language really confusing. In their language, you create an incident in SAM.gov. And they also create a ticket in FSD.gov. The incident is managed through the FSD.gov ticket. I know that's really confusing, so let me show you how it works. This is the website FSD.gov, and you can see here it's an official US government website. You use your login.gov credentials to sign into this website. And then you can click on this My Incidents button. And there you'll be able to view the status of your incident and also to send and receive messages about your incident. Okay, so what happens next? Well, the validation agents are going to review your documentation and then they'll send you an email. I'm showing you here the email that I received. Either they'll ask you to answer some questions they have or to submit additional documentation, or they'll tell you you're good to go and you can move on to the next step. In my case, I passed the validation step, and the email I received tells me the specific steps that I need to take to go back into SAM and
All right, so for this section, I will say, in case you do need to re-upload certain information, just keep in mind that they will take between 3 and 10 days to look at it. So if there are several documents you need to resubmit, just know this can become a lengthy process. So if you're in a time crunch, just get started on it. And then the next one is the core data. I have one more video, just bear with me. And it's about 8 minutes long as well. And again, just adjust the volume if you have to.
If you have already received your unique entity ID and you want to register your entity, sign into SAM.gov and go to your workspace, find the Entities widget and select its title. Find the entity that you want to register, select the 3 dots near the expiration date, and then select Register from the menu. Select your entity type and why you are registering. To bid on federal contracts and apply for grants and loans, or only to apply for grants and loans. Confirm your purpose of registration on the next page. Review what entity information you will be required to provide in order to register. Then continue your registration. Next, the Continue Registration page displays. It shows the sections of the registration that you must complete based on your purpose of registration. Select Continue. Next, the Business Information page displays. Complete all sections designated with an asterisk. The first section, Your Entity's Business Information, asks you for your entity's start date and fiscal year end close date. The fiscal year-end close date refers to the completion of a 1-year accounting period. If your entity's fiscal year is the same as the calendar year, then your fiscal year ends on December 31st. This section also asks you to create a marketing partner ID number, also known as your MPIN. Be sure to remember or record your MPIN because you will need it later on in the registration. And it also acts as your password for all authorized partner applications, such as grants.gov. In the physical address section, your address will be pre-populated. Please confirm its accuracy. Fill in the mailing address section. You can copy your physical address if they are the same. Next, enter your TIN, or taxpayer identification number. Your TIN is either your employer identification number, EIN, or your social security number, if you are a sole proprietor who has not gotten an EIN. Once you have entered and verified your business information, select Save and Continue. Next, the IRS consent page displays. Be sure to check the page description at the top because it has important information. Read the Consent to Disclosure of Tax Information section carefully. Enter all mandatory data and the optional fields that apply to you or to your entity. Your taxpayer name may be different from your entity's legal business name. Enter the taxpayer name that the IRS has on file for your entity's taxpayer identification number. You can find the name on your most recent tax return. Enter your MPIN in the signature box. When you have finished, select Save and Continue. Next, the CAGE code screen displays. On this page, enter your commercial and government entity or CAGE code if you have one. The CAGE code is a 5-character alphanumeric identifier assigned to entities located in the United States and its outlying areas by the Defense Logistics Agency, also known as DLA. If your entity already has a CAGE code, select yes to the question and enter the CAGE code in the field. The system will do a check to make sure that the code is valid. If you need to search for CAGE code information, go to the DLA CAGE website by selecting the DLA CAGE website link in the page description box above. If you do not have a CAGE code, you may receive one after you submit your entity's registration, depending on the type of entity you are registering and the purpose of your registration. If you are an international, meaning non-US entity, you will be asked for your NATO CAGE or NCAGE code instead. You must supply an NCAGE code. If you need to get one, visit nato.int/codification and select the NCAGE request button. Select Save and Continue. Next, the ownership details page displays. The Federal Acquisition Regulation, subpart 4.18, requires you to provide information about your entity's ownership and control as part of your registration. Again, read the page description to orient yourself. Select the yes or no radio button to respond to the question, does another entity own or control the entity you are registering? Select the link, definition of immediate owner under the question if you need more information. If you select yes, enter the information about the organization that directly controls your entity and about the topmost entity in your organizational hierarchy. You will need the CAGE or NCAGE code for both of these. When you have finished, select Save and Continue. Next, the General Information page displays. This page asks for the general information about your entity, such as your country of incorporation, entity type, institution type, organization factors, entity structure, profit structure, socioeconomic factors, and other information. Use the drop-down menu and select the boxes to make your choices. Then select Save and Continue. Next, the Financial Information page displays. Enter the financial information for your entity. This information will be used to pay you if you receive a federal award. First, answer the yes or no question, do you accept credit cards as a method of payment? It is easy to miss this required question. Complete the mandatory fields in the Electronic Funds Transfer, EFT, Automated Clearinghouse, ACH, and Remittance Address sections. Select Save and Continue when you have finished. Next, the system displays the executive compensation questions. Your answers will be available on usaspending.gov in association with any eligible federal award your entity receives. Respond to the executive compensation questions, and when you are finished, select Save and Continue. Next, the Proceedings question page displays. Review the page description and then answer the proceedings questions for your entity. Once you have responded, select Save and Continue. Finally, you will reach the Review Core Data page. Review the information that you have entered. If you need to modify anything, select the Edit button in the upper right corner of the section you need to change. Once you are sure all sections are accurate, select Save and Continue. Congratulations on finishing entering the core data section of your entity registration. You can pause at this point and return to your registration from your workspace later, or you can continue on to the next section. If you are registering to bid on contracts, that section will be assertions. If you are only registering to bid on federal grants and loans, the financial assistance representations and certifications are next. Thank you for joining us for another video.
All right, so I just would like to add that the USDA no longer requires the cage code. So it looks like that SAM might remove that requirement as well. They actually state that under 2 circumstances, they will not require it, which the first one is the entity's purpose of registration is financial assistance awards only. And 2, the entity indicates during registration that it is not seeking financial assistance from the Department of Defense. So under those 2 circumstances, if both are fulfilled, you don't need a cage code. And the USDA does recommend filling out the assertion sections as it minimizes the documents later in the application process. And then for the executive compensation question, you will likely select no. And then for the representations and certifications, it will just require an entity to certify certain information by checking boxes. And then the last section is the point of contact section. And as you can see, it consists of accounts receivable, electronic business, and government business. And if you only have one person who takes care of all business related matters, you can put down the same person for all 3 mandatory POCs. And if your entity has different individuals who are responsible for different areas within your business, the USDA still recommends using the same person for all 3 mandatory POCs. So that does conclude the SAM registration presentation.